call this meeting to order at 7:05 p.m. It's a regular meeting of the governing body of the Borough of Bloomingdale, Tuesday, July 23rd. I'd ask everyone to please stand to salute our nation's flag. I'd ask our newest patrolman to step forward and please lead us in that pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mayor Dunleavy.
Here.
Councilmembers Donato.
Here.
Shortman. Here. Conklin.
Here.
Del Ripa.
Here.
Sondemire.
Here.
Yost.
Here.
Also with us this evening is our municipal clerk, Jim McCarthy, and our borough attorney, Fred Semrau. This is an official meeting of the governing body of the Borough of Bloomingdale, January 2nd, 2013. Public notification of the date, time, and place of this official meeting was posted for all and faxed to all local news media. That was when it was advertised. As per state fire code, I'm to acknowledge the two emergency exits in these chambers, the door which you walk through, and exit to my left. If an emergency should arise, you walk orderly and exit the building. So if anyone has questions on the fire code, you need to raise your hand at this time. Okay, seeing no one, we have no need for an early executive session. I'm also going to move our early public comment, and we're going to proceed with the swearing in of our two new police officers. I will step off the dais and say a few words, and we'll go from there. As everyone in this room certainly knows, as everyone in the county certainly knows, I believe it goes into the entire state, the reputation of our police department is one of the finest in the state of New Jersey, by far. I, as mayor, am incredibly proud to serve with these gentlemen, incredibly proud and incredibly impressed each and every day in this borough with their commitment to this community, with their compassion to the community. You gentlemen are second to none. And I'm incredibly proud, as I know the governing body is, to have you serve for this borough. And we just can never thank you enough. And with that said, it's certainly an honor tonight to be swearing in our two newest officers who will continue that tradition. Mr. Daniel Greenwood and Mr. Vincent Graziosa are going to be, I'm sure, absolute wonderful additions to this department and help us continue that fine tradition that you guys have already set. Before we swear in, I'd like to invite our chief up in a moment to say a few words, and it's certainly a privilege and an honor for me to introduce who I consider my friend, and especially an honor to introduce to you Chief Joe Burrell.
Good evening, everybody. It's great to see such a great turnout, and I certainly want to welcome everybody here for such a special event tonight. We're all very excited. But I want to start real simply by thanking Mayor Dunleavy and all the members of the Mayor and Council for their support. Without your support here tonight, and to our police department and the needs of our police department, we are not here. So, from everybody on our police department, and I truly mean it, we truly say thank you for your support. So thank you. We're experiencing some changes in our police department moving forward. Towards the end of 2013 and into 2014, we're going to be looking at some retirements within our police department. With that, the council has authorized the hiring of 2 officers, and that's the reason, obviously, we are here tonight, and we're excited about it. But I must say, it's bittersweet, because while we're here, and we're here to celebrate tonight a great thing, it's bittersweet in the sense that that means I'm going to lose 2 very, very fine officers within our department. And while that saddens me, it also opens up doors for others. And in this case, Officers Graziosa and Officer Greenwood, this is their time. And, you know, the great part about it, with the council giving the go-ahead of giving us the opportunity to hire these 2 officers now, is the members of the department that we will lose in the future, these 2 officers will have the opportunity to learn from. So I truly can't say enough, you know, that how much that means to our department. To be able to proactively get these officers, get them trained, get them in place, while our other officers who are retiring are still here. You know, you don't see that too often, so I tip my hat and commend you for that, for sure. I say this to Dan and Vincent, cherish this moment, because everyone up here on our department at some point have been in your shoes. And that being said, it's a very exciting time, whether it's getting hired, a promotion, or in some cases, retirement, for some of our guys. Those are the times you truly remember, and you're going to have good and you're going to have bad. But tonight, take it all in, enjoy it. We welcome you to our family, and we're excited to have you. So I just want you to know that. We had an interview process, we had a hiring process that we go through that I certainly take a lot of pride in, because essentially, I like to say, whoever we hire, we're basically marrying that person. So that, it better work out. We better find good people, because there's no turning back. They're part of your family. So that being said, we completed our process, but during this process, I got to tell you, there were some really impressive people that interviewed and made application with our department. So while it was a very, very tough decision initially, I sat there many times saying, wow, I like that guy. Wow, I like that person. And there were some really impressive people. So it was a real tough decision. But as we got moving along through that process, the decision became much easier. And it became easier because of the interviews and the people that we're bringing in tonight, Vincent and Dan. They made that process very easy for me. I remember speaking to the mayor, and when we were going through the process, and also with Councilman Yazdi, and I mentioned that initially we were only going to be hiring one officer. So that was the plan. And after the interviews and the whole process went through, I was in a conversation with the mayor and Councilman Yazdi, and I told them, I said, I went to bed last night, I'm sleeping good, because we're hiring a good officer. I know we're getting a good person. Then I woke up in the middle of the night, because I really wanted these two guys. I didn't know, how do I go about choosing? This is such a tough decision. Never in my dreams did I imagine that I'd be here tonight, having both of them on our department. So that's just tremendous. Again, I can't tell you how great a feeling that is. And it brings the morale up within our whole police department. You have several members who are here tonight. These are the guys who are going to be helping Vincent and Dan. These are the people that you're going to be going to work with, and you'll see more than your family. The great part is these are the kind of guys that are willing to show you and teach you what needs to be done. Because ultimately, their life, or something along that line, they're going to rely on you. They're going to need you as much as you're going to need them, helping you out initially. We are there for each other. And, you just take everything you can from these guys, because, soak it up like a sponge, and you're going to do great. So, that being said, that's just a real quick background of why we're here tonight. Again, I think both these guys fit the fabric of what our town's about. They're good people. I like their people skills, and I think they're going to do great. I also love the fact that it allows me the opportunity to be a little more flexible within our police department, to do some different things right now that we might not be able to do. So these are all good things that we're all excited about. I'm just going to give a quick background on Dan. Dan was employed with the Passaic County Sheriff's Department for approximately a year. He was in their Internal Affairs Division within the Sheriff's Department. He earned his professional nursing license, which is something I really think is neat. We've never had somebody of that caliber on our department. I think it brings something different and new to the table. So Dan earned his professional nursing license and worked 2 years at Lakeview Cardiac Center in Wayne. He attended William Patterson College and Montclair State University, and he graduated the Passaic County Police Academy in 2012. Then we have Vincent. Vincent attended Clemson University, and before that, the University of Tampa. He earned his bachelor's degree in sociology with a minor in education. And while attending Clemson University, being a sports fan myself, this made me happy, but he was the equipment manager for the Clemson football team. He's also currently a softball and baseball umpire, and he is attending the Passaic County Police Academy as we speak. He graduates in 2 days, so we're excited about that. And the thing I give him really a lot of credit for is he put himself through the police academy. he went through a program called the Alternate Route Program, which I've hired several guys from that program. You pay and you put yourself through that police academy, and to me that really shows somebody who really wants it. And again, I was really impressed with the fact that he put himself in that academy, and everything I hear is outstanding. So that being said, that's what I have to say about these two officers, and I'm looking forward to have them as a member of our department. Thank you.
Before I call Dan up first, I just want to acknowledge a few people who are here with us this evening. First, I'd like to acknowledge our state of New Jersey Democratic Chairman, Mr. John Curry. Chairman, thank you for being here this evening. Acknowledge our borough treasurer, Sherry. Thank you for being here, Sherry. I'll hear about that tomorrow. We also have dispatcher Woody. Woody, thank you for being here. Our Chief Secretary and incredible employee of the borough, Sandy Capriato. Thank you. Our Assistant Chief, if I have that correct, Mark Klein. Thank you, sir, for being here this evening. And a wonderful man and a retired police officer from our department, Mr. Jeff Breckenridge. Jeff, thank you. I'd like to welcome both families who are now part of our family. And I welcome Daniel's parents and family and Daniel's fiancée. And I welcome the Gracioso gang. It's great to see you all here. And thank you for being here. So at this time, I'd invite Patrolman Daniel Greenwood up to the dais, please. And I'd ask your family to join you. Yes, please come right in front. And I'd ask Mom or Dad to hold the Bible, if you would, please. Daniel, I'd ask you to place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. Just repeat after me. Go nice and slow. I, Daniel Greenwood,
I, Daniel Greenwood,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and the governments
and the governments
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of the office of patrolman
all the duties of the office of patrolman
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. I'd like to present you your badge, and I'd ask your fiancé, you come up and place the badge on your future husband. Let's give this again a round of applause. Daniel, we wish you a very long, healthy career at the Borough of Bloomingdale. Thank you. You guys have a seat. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite Vincent Gracioso up to the podium, please. And I'd invite your family as well. There's plenty of room, guys. Sir? Mom, I ask you. Vincent, ask you to place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. Just repeat after me. I, Vincent Graciosa,
I, Vincent Graziosi,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and the governments
and the governments
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of the office of patrolman
all the duties of the office of patrolman
according to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my abilities,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, Vincent. Again, Vincent, I'd like to present to you your badge serving the borough, and I'd ask your brother to place the badge. So another round of applause if you're ready. Again, Vincent, we wish you a long and healthy career in the borough of Bloomingdale. And gentlemen, we're so proud to have you as part of our family. Gentlemen, thank you for all that you do. One fine small tradition we do present you with a borough pin, which I forgot to give Dan. And at this time, the governing body will take a short recess for some refreshments to celebrate this great day in Bloomingdale. Thank you, everyone. At this time, I need a motion to open to early public comment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Anyone wishing to speak, please come up. Just for
I did see on the website today, you have the bill.
Yes.
I can read it. I don't know what you had to do different or whatever you did, but I did see it. So that's good. I might have to leave early, so I didn't wait. I know we got a new agenda. Now what do we do? I have questions for somebody.
Right, Garrett, first order first.
Quick, I know we have our DPW, that's still there, we're ordering two portable generators.
Portables for the light tower generator for both utility and DPW, private French. Light towers, emergency light towers that go to job sites.
Okay.
Both those generators died.
Just so we put a lot of equipment. I mean, again, I'm not picking any one group. I mean, I'm assuming, you know what, the department is gonna watch all this stuff we buy, watch it real close, make sure we maintain it, they don't abuse it. I mean, some of the stuff we should buy should last a long time, right?
And to that point, the equipment we're referring to that is no longer with us. Our current department heads inherited.
Oh, yeah, I'm proof. You know, I know we're buying some heavy equipment, one of the other items on here. You know what, since we've all paid for it, it's all our money. I just want to, you know what, the lifespan of this stuff, if it's well maintained, is a long time, long time. So I just hope we do a lot of our own work, but we spend a lot of money.
There'll be a lot of accountability, for sure.
Make sure we take care of it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to the agenda item? Yes, sir.
Frank O'Reilly, 21 Pearl Street. I'd like to address ordinance 25-2013. In particular, I'd like to address the parking section. So the proposal is that for overnight parking permit is $120 per year. So the first question I would have is, Suppose I have 20 cars put in the driveway, with visitors one night, and want to park one of the cars in the street. Previously, I could call the police department, and they would say, fine, leave it there. No,
Nothing's changed.
nothing has changed. So
These
this
are
is
for
for long-term parking?
Correct.
Where is long-term parking spelled out in the ordinance? Or where is it defined?
It's not spelled out the way Joey's handling this. If you have people at your house who are spending the night, your car breaks down from one night, you call in, everything's the same.
The permit process is intended for permanent
For
vehicles.
permanent vehicles, I'll give you for an example, Rafkin Road, Dale,
I understand.
those people have problem parking, they have the option.
I just want to make sure that if I need to put a car in the street, that I don't have to pay $120 for the privilege of parking my car.
No, it's not the intent.
That being said, I see that the times where parking is restricted between 12 midnight and sunrise has not changed, still November 1st to April 1st. I personally think that's a disservice to the resident. You take global warming into effect, and if you look at the amount, now, the no parking is for purposes of snow removal, am I correct in stating?
Correct.
Okay. How many times last year do we actually send a snow plane? 3, 4 times maybe? Tops?
There's also salt and there's rice conditions.
Okay.
Some years it's 20.
Understood, but I'm willing to bet that the trend is less, it's fewer times. I personally would like to see on-the-street parking, except for those times when it's snowing. I would have liked to see that addressed in this ordinance. I think some type of compromise can be reached such that if snow is predicted within 12 hours, you have to get your vehicle off the street. You could find people who don't do it. Because a lot of people do park in the street. If you drive around now during summertime, those people in the wintertime then have to put their cars in the driveway. And I think it's a disservice in posting this ordinance without addressing is there any consideration given to that? When you drew up this ordinance?
If we were to allow on-street parking, those lots, then there'd be no purpose for the permit process. If the permit process
Correct?
is for the same non-snow situations. Even a person with a permit, when snow is forecasted, needs to get their vehicle off the street. So it was, I mean, this recommendation is coming from our police department. And this is in an effort to help those who need to park on sidewalks, front lawns and whatnot. But it gives accountability by having a permit process. If we were to open it up, without that accountability of registered people, I think it would create a mess, and it would be unenforceable. The town couldn't possibly enforce every people who violate the ordinance if you opened it up.
I'm not talking about enforcement, I'm talking about allowing parking on the street anytime there's no snow.
Well, that's my point. And I think without accountability of the registration process, that would create that.
I'm not sure I follow. If you allow parking anytime, except when there's snow, on the street, or snow, okay, then there is, this ordinance just basically goes away. And you lose $120 per household, but you at the same time, you're making it convenient for them. That is the ultimate situation.
I don't dismiss that part. I'll speak two things on that note. One is, it's about accountability. Again, I'll repeat myself, that if you were to open it up to unlimited anyone can park on national events, when it snows.
You can't hear? Okay.
Guys, they're having a difficulty hearing because the rule is so wide open that anyone can park. I think the registration process gives accountability. Number two, I believe by not allowing parking in the snow events, which again, the only way to control that is either don't allow it or now the permit process to open up for few, is a better service after a snowstorm than if you allow parking. Have you, I know you suggest, have you been to a Clifton or a Nutley or a town that doesn't require this? It's a mess. So, people are putting chairs right into the parking spots because they shoveled it out. So to allow cars to remain, in a snow event or willy-nilly without a permit process, I think would be crazy.
For my own part, I think that could be taken care of by ordinance. We will allow parking anytime except when it's snowing, and not allow it 3 or 4 days after a snow event. I think that situation would go away. You wouldn't need this permission. That's my personal opinion. I just wanted to make it known.
I respect your opinion. I just think it would be abused in the sense because there's no accountability through a permit process.
Well, the other thing too is that people, if you did write an ordinance such that you can't park when it's snowing or 4 days after a snowstorm and impose a heavy fine for those who did that, the incentive is there not to violate the ordinance. So,
I don't disagree with that, but I think the enforcement, with 2, max 3 guys on a shift, the enforcement would almost become impossible. For our guys to be spending the time, an 8-hour shift, 6 of those hours writing summonses for people violating the parking law.
And also, there was a lot of, Joey did a lot of research comparing what other towns do. So we didn't just create this specifically for Bloomingdale. He did the research and the comparison of what other towns are doing, so we're trying to use their process and ours, and trying to see if it's going to work. We're giving people an option. We've had complaints that they can't park on the street. Right? There's going to be, when the snowstorms come, we have to get in contact with these people with reverse 911 to make sure they get their cars. If they don't, the ticket process is going to be, it could be bedlam for the cops. They'll have to go out there, every street they'll be writing tickets. Because people will ignore it.
okay. I just don't agree with this, and I think this is the other way of doing it. But having said my opinion,
No, and
we'll move on.
I appreciate your opinion.
All
Again,
right, thank you.
and, as it stands, this wasn't even on the table to consider your option. This is Councilman Mazza giving an alternative for residents. That's what we'll try. Thanks, Mark. Anyone else to an agenda item? Seeing no one, motion to close. All in favor?
Aye.
Any reports? I'll start with Fred. Do you have any reports, Fred?
Yes, I do actually. The tax assessor indicated to me that there's a property, 26 Short Road, where there was essentially inherited, there's tax appeals to dispute the value and methodology of appraisal, but this was inherited. The property was damaged as a result of Superstorm Sandy. And there was a 60% reduction of value that was necessitated by that damage, but it wasn't picked up by the time that the books were closed. So the tax assessor is asking if we could file what's known as a correction of errors complaint to adjust it. So the original building assessment was $174,000, and the corrected assessment would reduce the value to $69,000. He's asking for the authority for us to file a correction of errors.
Which is item G under new business. And give me those values, current values.
Yeah, it's $174,100.
And we reduced to
$69,060.
Thank you. Again, it's item 12G. Does anyone change having reports?
No, nothing.
Any department heads involved in copying on any reports submitted from all our departments? Is any liaison committee person present? Yes.
Senior citizens in Bloomingdale are extremely active. They have music performances scheduled, bingo with children welcome. They have a lot of physical activities, Zumba, walking. They have trips planned to Wildwood, Lake George, Lakota Wolf Preserve. They are also taking appointments with a veterans representative. If there are any veterans who have questions, they can set up an appointment. They are also having, at a Golden Age meeting, someone comes yearly and talks about Medicare. There will be no meetings of the advisory board in August, and the center will be closed the week of August 19th.
Thank you. Anyone else? Just a few items on mine, and Saturday, August 24th, 10 a.m. is river cleanup in front of Sloan Park. Speaking of Sloan Park, we continue painfully waiting for the DEP to release permits on our flood mitigation project. I have a meeting in Trenton with our engineer on August 13th to try to finalize this. Just delays are no longer acceptable. So if we're successful there, we'll have to bid by the end of August. Because hurricane season is upon us, and action needs to be taken. Rafkin Road, we expect a bid in the next 2 weeks. There is going to be an alternate I'm going to bring up tonight regarding sewer laterals. Because we had a severe lateral break on Rafkin on Sunday night, which was quite intense, to be fair, for the department. And so that, we're looking to amend the bond ordinance and look to replace all the laterals in that project area. We'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in a moment. The restrooms grant we received, that bid should be going out also in the next 2 weeks. For the restroom, Walter G. Bergen, we received funding for. And a lot of what I had is informational on the agenda, which I'll go as we approach. For those who are keeping score at home, I failed to go over some non-agenda items. We have a few. So I will cite those, and if anyone wishes to, I will open public comment again to give that opportunity to speak to non-agenda items for the public. So those are, number one, we have to do this evening, per our auditor, a resolution for our services that we take advantage of through the Morris County Co-op via Tilcon, the contractor, through the Morris County Co-op for road paving. We have bond ordinances from last year and this year totaling $537,907. So we're not adding new money at all. We just need to memorialize that in a resolution for our auditors, the audit process. Even though it's state contract, Fred and I both look at each other like, state contract, we approve the fee we pay for the co-op every year, but the auditor recommends a resolution specific to that cooperative agreement. We also, Jane, did the senior center lease make non-agenda. Senior center lease, there has really been no lease in the borough since 2006-ish. So we'll be copying on a lease that I've asked the county to, just so we can have something to memorialize our relationship with the nutrition program that they run in our senior center. I sought for additional monthly rent, but they have 3 throughout the county, 2 of which they don't even pay rent on. So their budget is as tight as most. And they were able to pay us in the past when we shut down for the 2 weeks in August for maintenance. They never paid us that piece. And now they're going to just pay us that $450, a full $900 per month is the current rent. And it also is a month-to-month lease with no expiration, so we don't have to deal with this on a going-forward basis. It's memorialized, and we'll be moving on that tonight. Senior center lease with the county. Emergency on raftings. Okay, this will be a non-agenda item we'll address. I will be asking the council to schedule a special meeting to introduce a bond ordinance for replacement to add to the Rafkin Road project to add lateral replacement on that project. Now, we did camera all the mains, the sewer and water mains, and they're fine. The problem is you can't camera a lateral. They can do a little look-see as they do the camera, and most laterals look fine. Well, Sunday night, which was just finished this morning, so it took 3 days to fix, we had a massive break in the 151 area of Rafkin Road. The hole was as big as the width, 20 foot wide, 16 foot, 12 to 16 foot deep. And it turned out that every lateral in this area is orange burnt pipe, which is the old tar paper pipe, and it's just failed. The advice of our utility, confirmed by our engineer, is that while we are putting in new curbs and sidewalks, we really should consider replacing all the laterals. The mains are fine. So, to the tune of, for all 61 homes, approximately $300,000. Now, what we would do is a bond ordinance to be funded, again, out of capital surplus and utilities next year. That would be the plan. Because as you know, we have $1 million excess surplus, which we can't touch this year because our budget's adopted. So, again, I ask all of you to reach out to rather not wait till a late August or one and only August meeting, because that would be introduction. We couldn't adopt till late September. I don't want to delay the rafting project any more than it's been delayed. My intent would be to have a meeting next week, introduced by title, and then at our August meeting adopt, so that all can bid, including laterals, moving forward. I know that's a doozy, but the break just occurred and the inspections were done. Again, everybody doesn't have to move that way, but my fear is we'd be taking up Rafting Road, based on that. We need, Sherry was not comfortable with that, she wanted debt statements and things. So she was concerned about it. I'd rather have the council digest it and ask the questions of our engineers if they so choose. I was thinking of a Monday morning meeting, just because I know Councilman Devon was able to be here with the quorum. I know it's tough for some of the guys who work in a normal situation. So again, we'll get to that point, but so the public knows that would be an option. The other is we will be, a resolution stating the Rafting Road break as an emergency on the repairs, estimated to be roughly $12,000. That was on the break. So that'll be a non-agenda item. So to recap, we have Tilcon resolution for the co-op, senior citizen lease, emergency break on Rafting, special meeting for lateral replacement. We also have two more non-agenda items. One is we need to just do a chapter 59 amendment to our budget, adding a shared service revenue we received from West Essex Board of Education for $2,638. Just an amendment of revenue. And the final thing is we received paperwork after the agenda was printed for the 2004 DOT grant, 2014, excuse me, DOT grant. As you know, that's the grant where we received funding for Rafkin. In 2013, this year, we received phase 2 of Rafkin. So we got to start putting our thinking caps on what road we want to go for this application. And I'll tell you right now, my recommendation is we start with the heavier travel, or your most likely chance of getting funding. And I believe Star Lake has serious drainage issues. There is no drainage up by Ridge Creek down. So that's what would be my recommendation, but that'll be a non-agenda item that I will put forward. We don't have to make a decision tonight. The application deadline, we have some time, but I will be looking most likely with August to do a final decision. Okay, so those are, did I see any, Gene? Okay, so again, co-op resolution, senior center, lease, emergency rafting, special meeting for laterals on rafting, interlocal with West Essex Board of Ed, and the DOT grant. So that said, I'd ask a motion to open public comment again in case someone wants to speak to any of those non-agenda items. Who makes that motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Does anyone wish to speak to any of those items?
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Alan Miller, 7 Mary Street.
Yes.
Did we, were our guys involved in that repair? Did we?
They were, but we did have to sub out due to because of the depth of the main. The truck they rent, the one we purchased, which we don't have yet, the Kubota, we would have reached it. But we didn't have the truck big enough to reach, it was that, it was a 12-foot down.
I mean, the truck was back deep enough to reach.
Deep enough to reach it.
Okay.
Now, number one, number two, I think they bought in 77 tons of gravel to fill that hole. That's how big it was.
Okay.
So they did something to Marathon.
So basically, we, with the lack of equipment, we couldn't do it.
We couldn't, correct, but even if we
Let's
had
say,
equipment,
let's say 6 months from now, we have all the equipment. Are we going to have the right equipment to fix that?
yes, absolutely. Number one, number two, our men were there. Our men were there Sunday, Monday, so, there's a significant cost savings. Although we had to still spend $12,000 to a subcontractor, those costs were lowered by us trucking the fill, by us, removing the fill.
So we had our own truck there to
Yes,
take away and.
we actually had our truck and the contractor's truck because they were running 2 loads. The fill out and 2 loads.
Truck, yes. I mean, when do you think we'll be ready for that? We're looking at
The Kubota, we'll have the Kubota within 10 days.
We have Kubota, we have the truck. At this point going forward, we should be able to do anything.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't commit you to the other.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
It'll allow
What
me,
we plan for.
put it this way, our average sub cost on an annual basis would be, average would be $80,000 to $120,000. We are in July, and to date, we're at about $38,000. So we've already seen that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else on these non-agenda items?
You still going to have a late comment?
Yeah.
Oh,
Great.
okay. I'll wait for that.
You know what, again, not to dismiss it, I have no problem if you come up now, because that, okay, it may be late with our agenda. So,
Okay, I can wait.
okay, I just want to make sure, I don't want to miss the opportunity. Okay, any other reports? Okay, approval of consent agenda, need a motion to do so? Okay, so the motion will include only the June 11th minutes, there's one amendment needs to be made. So do I have the motion to approve the consent agenda, removing the June 11 minutes? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Other than you can see what's on there, block party approval, August 13th public hearing on our open space award of 125 for Glacier, I'll speak to you a little more later. Letter of appreciation from Karen Kirby on Anna Rose Court. Our DPW did a wonderful job on cleaning the detention pond that sits there, and she sent a real nice letter of thanks. And also, we are approving an application for Jacob Lime to our chemical company. Any further discussion? I need a roll call, please. You want a roll call or all in favor? All in favor is fine, I'm sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. Thank you. Pending business, discussion in regard to Rose Fund, memo from Borough Attorney. I'll defer first, Councilwoman Short. Do you want to speak to this issue?
Well, I think I put my issues out there when, last time, that for the first time in over 10 years, we started paying grass cutting and field maintenance out of the open space portion. And I think what I believed, and I think previous councils believed, was that there was an open space portion plus 3 other portions that were for recreation, discretionary, and maintenance. But we have an opinion, I don't know if Fred would like to speak to his opinion that he wrote after this discussion occurred at the last meeting, and then I can make my questions or comments. Would that be, we have a letter here?
The only thing what we did was we went back, we looked at the referendum question, we looked at the ordinance, and we also looked at the state law. And my opinion is that the referendum question is broadly written, so it allows for all of the type of uses and expenditure of funds that were just described. So, so that's where I'm coming from. I think we always go back, you have to look at the question, because that's what the voters do.
And if I may just add to our attorney's point, I see where Councilwoman Short was coming from. The referendum was simply a tax for open space and recreation purposes. It is our Rose Fund advisory, keyword advisory committee, who makes the recommendations, how to split the money every year, how to spend that, what projects they should be doing, etc. But ultimately, it's the governing body's decision on how and where that money can be spent from. So to your point, if there's something on the bills list that is for cutting grass out of open space that concerns you, that item can be pulled, and if the majority of the council, on any given year, because it's been happening for years, can advise the finance department, pay from here if there's funds available. But I know our finance department pays it from where the funds are available.
So you're saying that when we paid John's Lawn Service to cut the grass, there was no money in the other accounts?
Again, I can't speak to exactly why finance went there, but I can only assume there was other encumbrances that finance had to go to another.
So she made that
fund.
decision,
I'm
you're
just
saying?
saying, perfect.
It just is amazing to me that 10 years that has never happened before, because the way I'll just give my opinion, I certainly don't have any legal standing to give my opinion in a legal way, but I know that when I voted on it, I saw the referendum in 2 parts, and the wording was that will be solely dedicated to financing open space preservation, and then it was added recreation, maintenance, etc. So my question is, if we now are just broadly using wherever the money comes from, what is the purpose to having 4 parts
Good
to
point.
it? What is the
Good point.
purpose?
It could simply be
Rose
one
Fund.
line, recreation open space fund, and then pay bills accordingly out of one line. Doesn't
Because it
happen.
doesn't really matter where it comes from.
In essence, it doesn't. And the split stems back to 2001, from the very first Rose Fund Committee, who made the recommendation on 25, here, 25, here, 25.
We've been cutting grass for how long, paying it out?
Yeah, I'm sure it's
No,
more.
no, we have never paid for it out of
I mean, I
open
didn't do a
space.
trail
Never.
back 10 years, but I'm sure there's been.
Well, I have it back as far as I could go, which was like
So
2003.
there's non-open space expenditures out of open space.
Don't go from 300 and some thousand down to 125,000. Each year, there were years only 10% was put in, or 25, and that's how that money was accumulated. My other question is, if we know if there's an open space acquisition, it would be a considerable sum. If that became available, where would that money come from?
I'm on the record for many, many years on 2 points. One is the Rose Fund is not intended to pay cash for a piece of open space. You need the Rose Fund's existence to even acquire Green Acres money. The Rose Fund, which the history proves, has acquired over $7.4 million worth of land in less than a $100,000 expenditure because you pay for the soft costs, the surveying, the engineering, and all the soft costs. But it allows you to parlay that into acquisition money via the Quantic River, State River Coalition, State County, which, for example, the ball track, we didn't have to partner on that one. They were full out on that. Green Acres money, number one. And number two, I'm on the record, is I do not support buying any more open space, period. We're 53% open. I've never hidden that. We're 53% open space. I cannot justify taking a penny off the tax rolls in our economic situation, and I don't think anyone up here can. So, again, there's still money there. If this dream item came up, our financial situation was so wonderful that we could allow 100 acres off the tax roll and never have to worry about it, although that's the reason we have such problems in Bloomingdale, is because we've saved everything and fought development. Seriously, that's a big part of our problem.
Most of our.
But there's enough seed money in there to make that acquisition. I'm just going on the record that it's not for a full cash buyout, it's for soft costs. And number one, personally, I don't support buying any more open space. And I'll never hide that point.
I still think that thought has to be given. If this is the legal opinion and then this is the wishes of the council, then I don't see why the advisory board has to sit there and make a judgment on which area it goes to, because
In essence, they don't.
we're saying, it doesn't matter because it just comes from wherever the
In
money
essence, they
is.
don't. Their primary
And
function.
it seems to me that we just find where money is, and that's where we spend it
Primary
from.
function is to regulate what should be done.
The advisory board has made recommendations, and we have taken the recommendations and gotten things done, correct?
Correct.
So they're doing their job, we're making things happen, but when we have to pay bills, of taking care of fuel, we have to take the money from somewhere, it comes from where we have it, not where we don't have it.
Well, I think that's a new philosophy that really previous councils have never had. Yes, do they have to pay bills and get things done? I absolutely agree with that, and I think their recommendations as a board are very valid and important. What I'm saying that I don't think they need to do any longer is to tell us 10% open space, 20% here and there. I think it's their recommendations of percentages that don't seem to make any sense in light of, of this. But I will say that having been a real strong supporter of the Rose Fund vote back in 2001, I definitely thought that there would be a balance and they wouldn't go between open space and recreation. I thought that there would be a fund called recreation and, called open space. And if that has changed,
The referendum
and
question
people,
didn't state that.
it said
A tax for open space and
open
recreation.
space,
That's what exists.
solely open space preservation. I don't know where that is in it.
And recreation.
And recreation maintenance,
So,
but not open space.
that's what it is.
Well, I don't think until this year, anyone sitting up here, the mayor seat or councilman, have ever interpreted it like that. However, if times change, and that is the way the majority of the people feel, so be it. I believe that that's, how we have to conduct ourselves. But speaking for myself, all those years ago, I still think that we have used open space money for things that were important at the time, for deposits and for things like that. And if this is going to be the new way we use it, what I see happening is all going to be spent. And I don't think that should really happen. That's just my opinion and philosophy.
None, I respect that. Okay, anything else on that? Moving along, 11B, discussion in regards to posting bills list on the website. That item has been resolved. It went to committee. Committee reviewed it. Our finance doesn't have the capability to go right to, electronically to it, so Jane and John figured it out to get it on there. As well as we can. We'll try to tweak it, because it's kind of cockeyed, but we'll fix it. But as we speak, the bills list are posted and will continue to be posted on the website.
Could I just say something about posting it? I know we've had discussion about it and how to do it, and if we should do it, but I think that I'm very proud that Bloomingdale, even though many towns don't do this, I'm very proud of the fact that we are moving forward for total transparency. I know when I sat in the audience 3 years ago, even a website was scoffed at. Who'll ever look at that, who'll use it? And 3 years later, I think it is a phenomenal tool for everyone. I think the more we, as Mr. Kearns told us, what should be open, and basically it's called everything. And I think it's a great way to go. And I'm glad that the people who worked on it, John and Rich, were able to work with Sherry and to whoever did it. I totally appreciate it. And I think as time goes on, more and more will be posted, and it will certainly make it easier for Oprahing things. I don't know how the vote went in the state legislature. There was some controversy we heard about how far the new laws were going to go to actually, get everything out there. But I think the public will learn how to use it, and if they have questions, they should ask. But I appreciate that is up there.
Just for the record, two things. Bill Kearns is an attorney for the League of Municipalities who hosted or put on a seminar that most of us attended on an ethics course in Kinnelon. So that's reference his name.
Excellent.
And number two, the Oprah bill, that is some of it's good, some of it's kind of,
Right.
Again, unfunded mandates that put on the borough, is not yet out of the assembly. I mean, there's still amendments that are flying, and I know our senator, who I've spoken to, Cardinal, is not supported as a whole because of some of the pieces of it. So I think that has a long road for the governor's desk on that one.
But I'm still happy we're doing it.
A neighboring senator, Senator Camacho, surprisingly, has turned into the sponsor of the legislation. Now there's quite a bit of response from various associations about that, but that hasn't happened.
Okay, thank you. Yes?
I just want to say two things. First, I didn't want to take any undue credit. I really didn't have anything to do with it at this stage. But I do want to look at when Sherry and Jane's new computers are in and installed to figure out if there's some way to actually do it electronically so there's no scanning.
Right. But it comes from Edmonds, which I don't believe there is. But
Well, I want to see that, there are several ways, there are utilities to print to a PDF, for example. So I want to see if we can do something like that, but like I said, I don't want to do anything on the current PCs because they're slated to be replaced within a matter of weeks. So, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along. We have our second and final reading and public hearing notice on ordinance 22, 2013. This is for Main Street and immediate side street parking. Have a public notice statement, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this ordinance was posted in the municipal building, published in the Herald News. Copies available to the public, so a motion may be made and be read by title.
And who makes that motion?
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
An ordinance of the Borough of Bloomingdale, the County of Passaic, the State of New Jersey, amending the Code of the Planning Board of the Borough of Bloomingdale, Article 5, regulations governing certain uses, Section 92-22, parking, loading and automotive services, Article 11, definitions, Sections 92-43, terms defined, and Article 12, schedule of regulations, Section 92-54, RMO residential and office zone, Section 92-55B1 general business zone, and Section 92-55.1 B1A commercial zone to allow Main Street and immediate side street parking in accordance with all zoning requirements.
I think the title's older than the ordinance. Thank you, Jane. Before I open to public, again, just to sum this up, this is an ordinance to, in my eyes, help growth on Main Street. A lot of our properties on Main Street are restricted due to parking with parking limitations that prohibit certain uses. For example, if an architect wants to open an office in one of these older homes on Main Street, he may not have the allowable parking to do so. So in the past, he would just be rejected or sent on his way. Now, Main Street curbside parking and side street, immediate side street, will count towards that site plan review. So I begin by thanking our ordinance review committee for putting this together, which two members are here, Mr. Bill Graff, Mr. Ed Simone. So thank you, gentlemen, for doing the work on this and bringing it forward. So at that said, I need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
All in favor? Anyone wishing to speak to ordinance 22, 2013, please come on up, state your name and address for the record. Seeing no one, I need a motion to close. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
And I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Yasti, D'Amato, any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmembers Conklin. Tomato.
Yes.
Del Ripa.
Yes.
Shortman.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
Thank you. Item C2 is the second final reading and public hearing ordinance on 23, 2013 agricultural uses. This is amending our agricultural use ordinance by allowing a limited number of chickens on smaller lots than currently permissible. This is common, there's been groundswell of this eating fresh eggs. People have approached the borough. And I think this is a way for us to accommodate, half a dozen to a dozen or so, possibly more. I don't feel it'd be too great of a number of residents without having to spend $1,500 to $2,000 to get a variance to do so. So, public notice statement, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this ordinance was posted in the municipal building, published in the Herald News. Copies available to the public, and a motion being made that it be read by title.
And who makes that motion?
So moved.
Second.
And all in favor?
An ordinance of the Borough of Bloomingdale, the County of Passaic, the State of New Jersey, amending the Code of the Planning Board of the Borough of Bloomingdale, Article 5, Regulations Governing Certain Uses, Section 92-21, Residential and Agricultural Uses, Hotels and Motels, Section 92-21B, Agricultural Uses.
Okay, before I open to the public, again, to find what the ordinance is doing, again, it will be a fee process, a requirement on certain coop requirements, and there'll be enforcement and monitoring through Board of Health and property maintenance. So, I need a motion to open the public. So, all in favor? Anyone wishing to speak to 23, 2013, please come on up, state your name and address for the record. What are you, chicken?
I'm assuming real quick, that's just a joke, but real quick, I mean, you started saying the end, and I might have missed it, but I'm sure when you put this ordinance, I mean, if you have somebody who does get one of these permits, I mean, really close quarters, I mean, if I have a neighbor who decides he's gonna raise a farm, I'm okay with that, but if you don't clean it, and, chickens are a mess, if you don't take care of them. I'm assuming there's gonna be follow-up, that can be taken away.
Inspections, enforcement, and no roosters.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else? Motion closed. All in favor? Okay, any motion to adopt, who make that motion?
So moved.
Okay, second, discussion, anyone, just a question?
Coops.
Yeah.
Is there certain sizes they can have?
Yes.
Is there building permit fees? Is there?
Yeah, actually, if I'll defer to Ed, who was a big part of developing it, Ed, if you could just come up, not speak.
I can put chickens in my garage at the end of the day?
To summarize the ordinance is limiting everyone to 4 chickens. Chicken eats 4 square feet, so the coop size is being limited to 20 square feet. This way, you're not going to have a neighbor who's going to build a monstrosity or have a 20-foot roll-off shed a little bit on a premise that is for 1 chicken. So the coop size is going to be limited to 20 square feet. It's not going to be allowed to be higher than 6 feet off the ground. And the outdoor pen area is going to be limited to 5 square feet or so per chicken. So there's limitations on the size. There's also rules set in place for trays for cleaning. There's rules set in place for how they have to clean it. They can't keep the manure. They can't put it in their garden. It has to be bagged and removed. There's a permit fee that's governed by the health department. I believe it was $25. $30 a year, that they have to register who has them and where they are. So we pretty much tried to work, we sort of drafted the whole ordinance thinking about the smallest property in town. So, you know, there's limits, there's setback limits as to how close they can be to a property line. So we limited it, we really looked at the smallest lots in town, and we picked the number 4 birds. That would give the basic family the ability to harvest 12 eggs, a dozen eggs a week. And that was where we came up with the number of 4 birds.
When you acquire, I have a friend in West Milford who has had chickens, and she has a rooster. And I said, why did you get a rooster? She said, because when you acquire them, you don't know they're roosters.
No,
So what happens if who's going to say, oh, now, what do you do if I do get a rooster?
Fortunately, the term is culling.
Is what?
It's culling. The rooster
Exactly.
has to be removed, and most people have
She
roosters.
can't do that, she said.
A lot of people bring the roosters down to Dr. Brook Farm or down where they mainly butchered and return to them for chickens.
They
Some
do
people,
that.
yeah, some people bring them, there's farms in Pennsylvania that take them. That is the one caveat that's always a problem. Until they're about 10 to 12 weeks old, it's difficult to sex them.
How do you have to dispose of the waste? I mean, is there a little garbage bin take the waste?
Yeah, it's allowed to be bagged and removed in the garbage. That's also through state
Now,
stuff.
who in the borough would be responsible for managing
We
this
s-
problem?
we spoke with the health department. They will be the governing body.
They will.
They-
Animal control.
An animal control.
Yeah.
What'll happen is by having these rules set in place, you know, nothing's perfect. You're always gonna get
Well,
one person
I
who's
don't
gonna
do
use
it,
it.
I'm not against it.
But
I
they'll
just-
be able to make a phone call,
Yeah.
and there's rules set in place, and then it can be stopped.
Yeah, no, let me ask you, do you think a lot of people are gonna decide?
There was a petition going around town. There was a petition going around town. There was, what prompted myself to contact me, there was one resident who actually was applying for variance. There was no spending $2,000 to have several chickens, and it was just, you know, we felt it was, extraordinary, a lot of money to be able to do this. And if you do the research on it, in the last 2 years, over 500 towns in the United States have changed their ordinances to allow
Well, I'm sure
small.
from a health perspective, I mean, raising your eggs has to be the best.
When we did the research, New York City allows it, Jersey City allows it, 21, I believe, out of 23 municipalities in Essex County allow it. Wayne tried to stop it, just lost in court.
Really?
Yeah, so that's why, you know, we tried to be a little proactive.
Okay, and one question, everybody's talking on an article was sent from our DEC members about a couple issues. One was that after 2 years, they stopped laying eggs.
You get 3, you know, depending on the diet, maybe you'll get 4, but after, you know, somebody.
What is someone who's doing it with the intent of eggs, obviously, what do they donate to a farm to keep it as a pet after that?
Generally, what happens is that, you know, especially when you have a small flock of 4, they wind up having names and pets. And the state of New Jersey recognizes them as pets.
I just want to point out, there's a farm on Weaver Road, in Well Avenue, that I think will take in animals like that.
Are they, I mean, how about for like, I mean, I know where I live, we have probably bears and garbage. Do chicken, or do they attract bear?
I live up in the R130, which has always been allowed. Anything, the ordinance, the agricultural ordinance always read that anyone with 3 acres or more in the
Excuse me,
R130
just speak into the mic so we can keep.
was allowed to have chickens. I have 14. That's, you know, and I have no problems with bears. The bear walks past that coop probably 2-3 times a week, looks at it and walks away. My chickens free range when I'm home. During the day, yeah, when we're at work, they're kept in a pen. But on Saturdays and Sundays, they roam around like, you know, just under 4 acres, they roam around.
Don't run away.
They don't run away, they stay very, very close to the coop. At 5:36, they start hanging around the coop. At 7:30, quarter to 8, they put themselves to bed. They go up, they go into the coop, go up on the roosters, and all you do is shut the doors. They stay very close, for protection, for their safety.
Yeah, no, I don't know what's right, that's why.
They hang around, they hang very close to home.
Do
The
you have a
one thing that-
rooster? Do you have a rooster?
Yes.
Well, maybe that's why the bear doesn't come in very often.
The rooster's mean. The rooster backs the German Shepherd, but that's basically it.
All right, thank you very much.
Well, what does somebody in our zone, what do you do with eggs from 20 chickens?
Believe it or not, I have 11 hens, I got 1 egg. Just no one was in the room. Some days I get 6, some days I get 8, some days I get 2. I got 1 egg.
Well, I have to tell you, Ed, whatever you do, I know you do well, and I know you take care of everything you have, and you've worked to do it. Yes, I'm not sure everybody would do what you're doing, and I think it's going to take a lot of enforcement.
I think
Okay?
from the people who come to my house, I think the mayor's quote was, we got probably about 8 to 10 residents who were seriously interested.
Okay, thank you very much. There's a motion on the table. Any further discussion? Do you have any back? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Tomato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Shortman.
I'm going to vote no because I think the R10 zone is much too small to start building coops and for chickens. So my vote is no.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes. Okay, item 3. Second and final reading, public hearing on ordinance 25, 2013, overnight parking, public notice statement, please.
Mr. Mayor, this ordinance was posted in the municipal building, published in the Herald News. Copies available to the public. The motion may be made and read by title.
So moved.
Thank you. Second. Thank you. All in favor?
An ordinance of the Borough of Bloomingdale, in the County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, to amend the Code of the Borough of Bloomingdale, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 8, Policies and Procedures, Section 2-80, fees, charge for municipal services in Chapter 7, Traffic, Part 1, on-street traffic regulations, Section 7-14, parking prohibited during certain hours on certain streets to include the issuance of overnight parking permits by the borough, and to include the fee of the overnight parking permits.
Thank you. Okay, any motion to open public hearing?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Anyone wishing to speak to 25, 2013, please come on up, state your name and address for the record. Seeing no one, motion closed.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Who moves to adopt?
So moved.
Second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmembers Delariva.
Yes.
Shortman.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Okay, new business, 12A, adoption resolution 2013-7.1, payment of the bills. Who makes the motion? So moved. Second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Shortman.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yazdi. Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Item B, adoption resolution 2013-7.2. This is resolution amending the employee handbook and policy manual to conform with state statute and collective bargaining agreements. Now, before I ask for a motion, Mr. Attorney, the resolution is really only good for 1 year, correct? Right. So if we do this by resolution, it doesn't forevermore amend the manual.
It amends the manual, so, so long as the policy manual is in place, then this is going to be.
All right, and what we're doing, everyone, is two things. Our collective bargaining agreements has always had the provision regarding accumulated sick time. And it reads that the maximum a employee can accumulate is 180 days, the maximum they can be paid on is 180 days, but they get half pay on 180. So in essence, they're getting paid for 90 days upon retirement. It's the maximum number. That's in our collective bargaining agreements. The policy manual, which applies to non-employees not in the collective bargaining agreement, such as department heads, didn't specify that limitation, although that was the intent. Every department knew that was the rule in place, but I just want to memorialize it by defining it exactly to those terms in the manual that says the 180 half day, 90-day max. The second item is 2010, a new law was passed regarding what's allowable for an employee to be paid on an opt-out of insurance. So prior to the law, if an employee opts out of our insurance because a spouse has coverage, for example, in the borough, they were getting 50%, and going forward, a new employee would get 50% of the premium the borough was saving. Now, either way, I feel it's a good deal for the borough, because if you don't give an incentive to opt out, then they'll just take the coverage, and you're saving no money. But there's a law passed that the new rule is 25% of the money saved to opt out up to $5,000, whichever is low. So that is new state statute, which is not a negotiable item in the collective bargaining agreement. So as collective bargaining agreements come up for renewal, this provision is not even negotiable. It just becomes state statute. It's the law. So what we're doing is amending our manual for both these issues, finding the sick day accumulation in writing, which exists already, just memorializing it, and implementing the new 25% premium save of 5,000 shares low. So that's what we're doing here. So who makes that motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second? Any further discussion?
Again, the law goes into saying, effective this date and going forward, this would apply to all new. What happens to the ones that have opted out prior to that? Do they get to keep what they have, or does the sort of manually change it? Especially since we're changing to new insurance, so that they'll become well past it. They got 3 or 4 employees that already are opt out and paying this 50%. By switching it now to 5,000 or 25%.
Are they grandfathered?
Are they going to be grandfathered, or are they?
No, I mean,
And it's really, this is the policy we're putting into place. So this would govern going forward.
Ray's referencing it was actually a local finance agreement, local finance notes that I had sent to you that stated that it applies to new opt-outs only after 2010. So our attorney's opinion that's not the case. I mean, you can investigate that more.
I mean, no matter what, going forward, this is the right thing to do. It's consistent with state law. It's consistent to amend your handbook. If there is something along the way where someone has that type of issue, we'll have to deal with it. My reaction to it right now is this is going forward. This applies to everyone. But if there's something that comes up or a case can be made, we'll apply whatever the prevailing law is to address somebody's individual concern.
And your interpretation currently of the law is that it does not grandfather.
Right, that's correct.
So those 3 people say they see it multiply.
Well, then we'll deal with it.
They would have to bring it forward. They would
Right, but it wouldn't
contact
change the fact that you want to
Still have
take this step going forward.
you. Right. Which is the right side.
Okay. All right, thank you. So, roll call, please.
Councilmember Sancho.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Delaware.
Yes.
Sharp. Yes.
Thank you. Next item, adoption resolution 2013-7.3, approving a right-of-way use to Cross River Fiber. I'm going to defer to our attorney to bring everyone up to speed on this.
Yeah, Cross River Fiber is a fiber optic type of provider, the actual fiber optic cables, things of that nature. And the Telecommunications Act provides that municipalities, and there's case law to support this, cannot charge. They have to provide the right to access the right-of-ways for these type of communications. Cross River came forward and said, look, we are entitled to have this access by way of an agreement with the borough. We looked at this, and we looked at what was going on in other municipalities, and I had asked for most favored treatment, so if someone else gets a better deal, say Kinnelon suddenly does get money for this right, we want to be able to opt out. First, I was told yes. Then I was told by the president of the company and their attorney, we really can't do this. So we started again, and we essentially negotiated. And again, I think we're still way ahead. Number one, most towns that I've seen have 50-year agreements. This would be for 20 years. Number two, the legislation says you can't charge for this. But in the event it changes, and the government, makes an amendment to the Telecommunications Act, I want you to have the opportunity to opt out immediately and get paid. So if there's towns that are in for 50 years, and if the legislation changes, I guess there'll be a good malpractice case against their attorney, because they should really have that right to opt out. They agreed, Cross Fiber, to include that provision. The next thing is that they've since agreed to is, I asked, where would these fiber, cable, or optic wires go? And many communities are blindly just giving this consent. This is with the condition that either they're going to provide the borough with the actual plans where the fiber is going to go, or if they don't know at this time, they're going to have to give you 60 days notice where they will provide you with the plans, and they'll pay, I think we negotiated about 3 or 4 hours for the borough engineer to take a look at the plans and make sure it doesn't encroach or provide any kind of an issue to the borough. So we have that provision in there as well. So I'm going to go back and make the changes, and then I would, at that point, they've since have agreed back and forth. And I look at competing or other municipalities, and I don't see anything better than what I've been able to negotiate at this point in time. Okay, we're way ahead of the curve. So while that most favored nation clause is going to have to come out, you're getting back the right to opt out if the legislation changes, going from 50 to 20 years. We're going to have the actual mapping as to where these optic wires are, and the right for the engineer to review.
So should we take action this evening?
I'd wait for the amendment and the okay from Cross River.
Do you need a motion to table? Motion to table or just carry?
I think we just carry it there.
Okay, Jim, carry that to the lowest. Okay, thank you very much. The next item is adoption of resolution, actually the number of the council, so this would be 2013-70. Reauthorizing consulting services for Riverwalk feasibility study and plan for Burgess Associates. What happened was we received a $30,000 county grant for the planning study on the Riverwalk, and it was initially negotiated with Councilman Shortman and the planner that it was $25,000 for the plan and $5,000 for our borough engineer. But the contract we authorized was $30,000 to Burgess. So tonight we are just amending that authorization to $25,000 to Burgess. And we're just authorizing the Burgess contract at $25,000. Our engineer services are $5,000. We don't have to authorize that. He's on retained, he's on professional service. So that's his max billable based on the funding we receive. So we're just reauthorizing the Burgess planning because, again, the finance on the record is $30,000, we're amending to $25,000. So it makes that motion.
So moved.
Any further discussion?
I just neglected to say when we were making reports that the committee members met with Ed Snekus he gave us a printout of the draft, and he would like to present it at one of our September meetings, the final draft of the Riverwalk. And it's been a real pleasure working with him. He's very responsive, and I think he did a very professional job.
Thank
How
you.
much does it cost for the Riverwalk?
30
Now that
so
you spent $30,000 of public money to get the study done, what was the finding? How much did that cost the taxpayer?
he's going to come and present it to you in September. We had the discussion, we went over it, and you will see the finished product, and he will be here, and you can ask him any questions you'd like.
Has he indicated to you an approximate cost of the Riverwalk?
Yes, he has. That's also in the study.
What's the mulch?
Well, it's, as we know, the way our river runs, that that their proposal will be in and out
So
along the
you
streets.
give a minimum and maximum.
I think that, I'm going to say, the one he's proposing to start with would be the senior center, make a loop up and around and come back. I think it was something like 58,000. I'm not positive of the number, but he has one number and then he said he revised it.
So we'll have to wait. But I think that's just based on
You'll
the
see
paved
it.
walkway on top of the riverbank. It's not on board.
He has it all, he has it spelled out.
That 58,000 is just basically behind the senior center?
No, it's up and around and it makes a loop all the way up toward Butler and back down and around.
Utilizing Main Street, just
The
from
senior
the
parking
center
lot.
to Jordan Bus and that area.
Go around that area and come back
So it's like a
down.
walk, it's like almost similar to Bow Pond, we have a paved walk system. My assumption is
It
it's
wouldn't be paved,
in that paver.
Papers.
the pavers here.
What would it be, the stone dust?
It's going to be, I think he said gravel or mulch. Because we're talking about a river and it has to be, it has to be something replaceable. Like playgrounds are done, but, I'm sure he'll answer everything.
Thank you.
I'm glad you got more part of the paper.
I would imagine.
He has things about that in there too.
Okay, and
And there's a copy of the study, if any of you are interested. Terry has the one draft copy, not the final. But if you'd like to review that, it's up in the office.
thank you. Any further discussion? We will. Motion. Representative Rich. Roll call.
Councilmembers Yasi,
I'm recused from this. I voted no for the entire plan. I think it's the biggest waste of taxpayer money to go spend money to figure out where we can put it. Riverwalk in a town that has so much debt, to bring in more debt to put in a riverwalk, it's just ridiculous.
I believe it was abstention as opposed to recusal.
Abstention.
There's no comment.
Copeland,
Yes.
Tomato,
Yes.
Del Rippe,
Yes.
Shortman,
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Okay. Next item, we're introducing by title, ordinance number
26.
26, 2013, amending the fee ordinance for livestock. We adopted the chicken ordinance, but we have a permit ordinance, a fee ordinance, which we need to amend, introduce it by title, simply to amend our fee ordinance to have a $30 permit application. Who makes that motion to introduce by title? So move.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call. Second final, Alderman Twine.
Councilmembers Copeland, Tomato,
Yes.
Del Rippe,
Yes.
Shortman, Sondemire,
Yes.
Yasi.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next item is introduction of ordinance. Ordinance 27, 2013, amending fire suction points. Most of the private lake communities have fire suction points, which the lake association maintain for fire protection. In review with the fire department, particularly the Morse Lakes, where we recently had a public water system put in some sections of it. We're amending this to eliminate fire points, which is Morse Lakes and Rathman Road. That will be amended, so it no longer exists, and then the association will not have to maintain. There's others we're actually maintaining as we speak. So I need, who makes that motion to introduce? Second. Roll call.
Tomato,
Yes.
Del Rippe,
Yes.
Shortman,
Yes.
Sondemire,
Yes.
Yasi,
Yes.
Copeland.
Yes. Second and final reading, August 27th. Just to, for the record, the 26, 2013,
I'll read it by title.
read by title.
An ordinance of the Borough of Bloomingdale, the County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, the Code of the Borough of Bloomingdale, amending Chapter 2 Administration, Article 8, Policy and Procedure, Section 2-80, fees charged by municipal services, to add fees charged by the borough to obtain a livestock permit. That was the previous one.
And ordinance 2713, fire points.
An ordinance of the Borough of Bloomingdale, the County of Passaic, and the State of New Jersey, the Code of the Borough of Bloomingdale by amending Chapter 14, Fire Prevention and Protection, Article 14-2, Fire Prevention ponds and suction points, Section A, existing and recognized access roads, standpipes and suction points, to reflect that the suction point at Morse Lake Road near Rathbun Road is to be decommissioned by removing reference to safe room code.
Thank you. Okay. Item G, adoption resolution 2013-7.4. This is authorizing motion to file a complaint for Anglin, 26 Short Road, as per our tax assessor's recommendation due to a substantial 60% or more damage from Hurricane Sandy, reducing from current value of $174,000 to $69,600 based on its current damage. Who makes that motion? So moved. Rich, do I have a second? Second, I'm sorry. Mark, any further discussion?
Is there a building permit after this property?
Rich, you know the answer to that?
I don't know. I would imagine so, but,
I can confirm that tomorrow. But once work's done, we'll let you accept.
So the home is damaged. They're not getting it fixed for whatever time. They're allowed to lower their assessed value of the home. That's really?
yeah, as a result of the superstorm Sandy.
Yes.
So they filed the necessary documents with the assessors are at the same, that their home's been damaged.
You had a total loss fire.
And then once it's completed, if you go back.
Are they living in?
They're living in it?
I don't believe they are.
It's real small.
Pretty sure.
Okay, I think we have a motion on the table. Roll call.
Councilmembers Delver.
Yes.
Short. Yes. Sondemire.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Item H is a report on the senior bus for the county. As I told you at our last meeting, the county, in part of my negotiations on the senior center contract, trying to get more rental money, offered us a senior bus, which I just couldn't say no. So we have title. Al Gallagher, DPW superintendent, is doing the motor vehicle thing, and hopefully take delivery in the next week or so. And then we'll decide its use. My intention is to extend the county bus program that brings seniors to our senior center departs at 1. So many of our seniors cannot stay for the senior center activities. So my intent would be to supplement that and extend hours so at 3 or 4 p.m. And reach out for some potential volunteers to help institute this program. So that's all in the infancy stage, and we'll look at that. But I'm not going to say no to the bus.
Would that be for all of the county residents or
No,
just
it'll be
Bloomingdale?
specific to Bloomingdale residents. A Bloomingdale resident who wishes to stay after the nutrition program for Pilates or seminars or whatever it may be, we'll have the ability to offer them a ride home. So that's a lot of fine tuning left, but the bus came first. I don't want to say that. Yes.
What size bus?
It is a paratransit line. It's a van, actually, so no CDL required. It could be extended.
It's like a dozen.
Yeah, well, I tried to use up 15 for CDL. So anyway, that's where we are. I'll fill you in as time goes. Item I, review of noise ordinance in regards to construction hours. We've received a few complaints, so has Councilman Shortman, on just general noise issues in town, primarily with construction. And believe it or not, when after researching our noise ordinance, we really don't have one. No, we have one that defines it by decibels, and really we can define that for help on Sunday morning at 6 a.m. when the neighbor starts jacking around their patio. How's the board help get there at 3 decibels and all of that? So it's in committee now. The ordinance review should have something back to us shortly, and we'll be putting time restrictions, reasonable hours on the weekend. And there's also fine tuning to come before it comes to us. I just want to tell you that's in the works. Okay. Item J, discussion in regards to the Police Department Street of the Week neighborhood program. We'll have copied on the program. It's been marketed. It's on the website. The trends and patch. I did a nice story on it. This is a program started by our police chief where residents can nominate their street to be Street of the Week, where we'll see extra patrols, or if they have a specific problem with a neighbor or a dog or whatever the case may be, they can nominate their street, and the police will visit that on a regular basis. And also signs will be posted Al Gallagher, who joined us here, hey, how are you? DPW super. He got a really nice sign made to identify the street, that's that street of the week. So tell your neighbors, tell your friends, and nominate their street. The intent is, which didn't say in any of the literature, the police will be parking their car, knocking on doors, saying hello, meeting neighbors. That's a great program, and I think our chief will bring that forward. Item K, acceptance of resignation of dispatcher Pete Russo. Congratulations to Pete, because he received a full-time PD job, I believe, in Camden. So I wish him well, and thank you for his years of service. Who makes that motion? Second? Second. Favor? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you. Then I need item 12L, acceptance of letter of resignation from Joan Taggart as a member of the senior advisory committee. Again, thanking Joan, who recently moved to Butler, and we thank her for her years of service in many capacities in our borough. Who makes that motion?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Item N, our appointment of Sunny Brennan to replace Joan Taggart as member of the senior advisory committee. Sunny currently serves as the mayor's rep to that committee, but now she'll have a regular member seat. Who makes that motion?
So moved. Or second.
Go Shortman, Yazdi. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. And then appointment of Barbara Westlake as now the mayor's rep to the senior advisory board. So moved.
Second.
I got Sonnemeyer on that. Sorry, Rich.
I didn't say anything else.
Actually,
I was wondering, why do we vote on the mayor's rep?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Adoption of resolution 2013-7.5, award of contract for backhoe. We authorized at our last meeting up to $98,000, as I promised the governing body. I will come to you when capital money is spent. It's not technically a budget item, that's discussion. So last meeting, to get the ball rolling, I asked for $98,000. Then I decided we went out to bid, public bid on it, and we received 3 bids, a low, the most competitive bid for the product. The bid called for a John Deere specific model. We received 1 bid on that exact model, but we received 2 other bids for, I don't want to say inferior, but not the same size, same unit. So I'm authorizing Jesco company on the John Deere we wanted. The total is $103,450. The reason it is $5,000 more than what I asked at our last meeting. Again, which is fully funded. We have certification of funds. Is because it's an automatic transmission. It is the only unit that provides automatic. So, for example, our DPW or utility department needs to change a gear, and that can stop it. It's an automatic transmission. And that's strongly recommended by the mechanic and by
You're not going to get any support for that with 90 degrees.
and extra scoops, and yeah, warranties included in there, the extra 2 extra 12-inch and 18-inch buckets, comes with 24-inch, so let's ask you to move on that. We've already authorized 98, but I'll come back to you because I went out to public bid on it to get a better feel in the marketplace. And so that makes that vote so moved. So, any further discussion? And give me roll call.
Councilmember Short.
Yes.
Sonnemeyer.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Conklin. Demotta.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Item P, adoption of resolution 2013-7.6, continuation of contract with Musco Field Lighting for DeLazier. Boy, that time flies. In 2003, I was on the governing body, and I petitioned the governing body for a 10-year service contract with Musco, DeLazier Field Lighting, because one didn't exist. And it's worth its money, and then some. In a 10-year period, anything that gets go wrong, Musco comes out and repairs. But the big thing is, which they're doing this week or next, is when the contract is up, they do a full relamping of the entire system. The cost of the contract was $8,000. It remains, what is it this year? I'm sorry. I don't have it in front of me. It is $8,000.
609.
I'm sorry?
8,609.
$8,609 would extend to 2023. And then again, at the end, they would relamp the entire system. The relamping of the entire system is in excess of $8,000. So we have certification of funds from the Rose Fund to extend this warranty which is a no-brainer on the Musco system, especially now that it's getting up in years, that this system is close to 20 years now. So they'll be doing a relamping coming off the existing contract, which expired July 2nd, but could renew within 12 months and then retro back to your expiration date. So I need a motion to do so.
Second.
What do we have on the lighting of Walter T?
That came, the new construction came with a 10-year Musco contract. This is a renewal ordinance. So in 10 years, we'll have to revisit that.
We don't have Musco lighting yet.
We have Musco this place.
Oh, somebody else got that.
Well, the product's Musco. Install it.
Oh, okay.
Private contract. Okay, I'm sorry, we have a motion, and we have a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Sondemire.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Dela Ripa.
Yes.
Short.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then, item Q. Adoption resolution 2013 7.7 through 10. Again, tax office resolutions, overpayment, veteran tax exemptions, tax penalty exemptions, we always do. So who makes that motion? Wait a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Yasti.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Dela Ripa.
Yes.
Short.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Okay, then we have our non-agenda items. If not, then speak to it. No, did you? I'm sorry. Because that was
Yes.
late today. Okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, first item is need adoption of resolution 2013 7.11. This is a resolution authorizing the award of contracts to Tilcon without competitive bidding for road repair, again, via the Morris County Co-op, not to exceed an amount of $537,907, which is, again, last year's bond and this year's funding through capital. So it's already funded, it's just memorializing it for our order. Who makes that motion?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmembers Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Dela Ripa.
Yes.
Short.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next item is, need a motion for resolution 2013 7.12. This is just simply to memorialize our contract with Passaic County regarding our senior center and this nutrition program. They've been occupying it and the rent, we just haven't had a contract in place that I thought we should. So again, this will memorialize that and forevermore. This is month to month. Do we have a motion? Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmembers Tomato.
Yes.
Dela Ripa.
Yes.
Short. Yes. Sondemire.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Then I need resolution 2013 7.13, authorizing an insertion into our 2013 municipal budget pursuant to Chapter 159, a special item of revenue in the form of a State of New Jersey interlocal service agreement with West Essex Regional School District for construction services in the amount of $2,638. Who makes that motion?
So moved.
Second.
And any further discussion?
Is that for the year?
Yeah, it's just a new revenue from our construction code official doing work with it. Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Dela Ripa.
Yes.
Short. Yes. Sondemire.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Okay, resolution 2013 7.14, declaring an emergency for purpose of awarding a contract for Rafkin Road water service repair to John Barrett, Inc. for $12,500 until contract for $2,000 on material. Who makes that motion?
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? Needed a roll call.
Councilmember Shortman. Yes. Sondemire.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Dela Ripa.
Yes.
Okay, the next item was the 2014 DOT grant. Not going to get into too much on that, other than I did send everyone an email. That's, an application's coming up, deadline's in September, probably at our August meeting, definitely at our August meeting, I'd ask for a motion on where we're going to go with that. My recommendation at this table, we start with road. And if anyone has other recommendations, Al and I are talking about what road we should look at, so I'm waiting on Freddie, our road foreman, to get back. I think Star Lake would be the consensus, but keep it on your plates, and I'd like to get feedback from you before we move on that.
Was that the road, that was the top of your road list that you had developed?
No, but it's something that would be eligible for DOT. The top of my road list isn't necessarily eligible for DOT. The top of my road list, which I'm still working on, because every time I think I have it, I drive on another road. And I change it. Clark Street is in rough shape, Sunrise is in rough shape, go up by Highland is in rough shape, Cedars is in rough shape. So, but none of those would be, I don't think would be successful in getting DOT money, not major thoroughfare. Rapid serves the school. Star Lake serves a Little League field and a nonprofit initiative camp. And those are the kind of things that the DOT will help fund versus purely a residential street, I would say. It's fly as well. And that's a lifestyle engineer, something that's really heavy travel. So, again, just keep it on the forefront. And then the next thing is, I need to schedule a special meeting, and this way gives you time to think about it, where we would be looking for an introduction to bond ordinance to add the lateral installation of $300,000 for the Rafter Road project. We've all committed to the project, we know it's needed, and it's time to make the investment. I think we all agree.
Once we get past that, the second phase, we're going to start thinking about the same thing.
Correct.
It's the same thing.
Absolutely. What time is going to have to be done? So on. So,
Mr. Level, how deep is people's property?
well, it doesn't. This goes to the curb lines. And from the curb in is the homeowner's responsibility. We're replacing what comes off the main to the curb lines. The lateral.
Is this for the box for the sewer and stuff?
Well,
It's the sewer.
No, it's to go with the curb. I mean, say curb lines. It's a piece from the sewer main to the curb, off to every house.
Which is our.
Absolutely. From the curb back is the homeowner's. But if they had a problem, they'd have to take it to the road.
Now, when were these laterals put in?
Well, in Orangeburg,
I moved up there in '59.
houses were built in the 50s.
My house was,
I guess I'm confused. How can the pipe be whatever it is, and then the material that attaches to it is some other material? Like, how does that work?
Again, we're like our engineer said, the Orangeburg was the PVC,
Right, but one would think that
But the
the
main,
whole line is.
no, the main, I guess, had to be, that's so cool. Yeah.
But that was normal, and then have the lateral.
So again, all I'm looking for, and I'd ask you to do your homework with our engineer or ask me questions between now and the meeting, but I don't want to delay. I am going away. I'd rather, I don't have to be in the meeting, but I think I'd like as many people as we can to make such a decision. I'm thinking about as quick as this Monday, 29th at 8:30 a.m. All right, so,
Dentist available any other day.
Mike, how about you on that? Yeah, I should be. Is there a little work, a little work? John, you're good, right?
The weather's nice. If it's raining on me. One of those days that I plan on going somewhere.
Absolutely.
But it's nice.
Let me ask you, how about Tuesday?
I'm not sure if Tuesday.
I like that. Why don't we go over this way, it's earlier the better. Mike, you check, Ray, is raining?
No, Tuesday's
Okay, so I'd ask for, okay, I need a motion to call for Tuesday the 30th, 8 a.m., no time to advertise, regarding specifically one issue only. I know, we have one issue. To discuss the bond, introduction of bond orders for lateral addition to the Rafter Road project. Let me just get through this. Who makes that motion? Okay, do I have a second? Discussion on that motion?
What? What's the
Finance
status right
Department,
now on Monday morning?
Finance Department said no, she wanted the supplemental debt statement in our possession for introduction.
Okay.
I'm not, this is what our treasurer thinks, I'm not going to object, so we're going to do this on Tuesday. And it gives our bond council more time to actually prep. We should have, on an introduction of $300,000 bond ordinance, I want the ordinance in front of us. Not by title, not just by title, without that. Yes,
I was just wondering, can this now come out of utility surplus?
it can, but we'll pay it off next year with that.
Oh, I see, okay.
We have $1 million utility surplus, but once you adopt your budget, you can't tap that surplus.
Okay.
We put in 400 some odd thousand of that surplus this year for the backhoe, the blah, 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 blah. But I can't go back to, well, in hindsight, could we have moved more? Yeah, so we'll fund this, depending on surplus at the end of the year. We'll pay it off, and we'll pay it off.
Okay.
Fund it next year's budget.
Okay, I understand.
Okay? That would be the plan. So there's a motion on the table, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Sandemark.
Yes.
Yelsey.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Short. Yes.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I need a motion now for late public comment.
So moved.
Second? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak? Come on up.
Michael Riley, 21 Pearl Street. I'd like to speak as a member of the Environmental Commission and just briefly speak about Central Park. As you may have known, work was done in the park recently. The parking lot has gravel and stone dust put on top of it, and there's been a rock wall that's separates the parking area from the rest of it. The back of the stone wall is a berm in which trees were planted, and cuttings were done. And if none of you have had the opportunity to go and look at it, you really should go and take a look. It's very nicely done.
Absolutely.
There was a nice article in Trends about it. Thank you very much. Also, we're not done working with the county on this. We're still looking for boundary markings for Frontier Park. We're looking for species identification. We'd like to get a new sign put up because the original sign was for the old Frontier Park, and it kind of doesn't show you the new Frontier Park. We also want to come up with a plan to merge the old Frontier Park with the new Frontier Park, and we're still working with the county on doing that. Great. Also, I wanted to address while still wearing as a person on the chairperson of the Environmental Commission, I wanted to speak about the state allowing the DWSC to pump water into the Wanakee Reservoir. Now, one of the reasons they give for doing this, and there was an article in the paper on this on 77, I don't know if you were aware of this, you people have read that?
No,
They're going to allow, in periods of drought, they're going to allow, the state is going to allow pumping water, 17 million gallons per day from the Passaic River down by Two Rivers into the Wanakee Reservoir. Now, that means several things. The reason they're doing this, according to the paper, is to ease pressure on United Water, which is a for-profit water company that serves 800,000 Bergen and Passaic residents. Now, if they're to do this, this is going to involve a cost to the citizens who use that water. And we use that water, correct? Okay, so essentially you're pumping polluted water into the Wanakee Reservoir. That means more treatment and more cost. There are a couple of things here. One of which is, now this is already done, yeah, this has been fixed, but what I wanted to know was there the mayor and council get involved in this at all, or have any input into this being addressed by the state legislature? Other than
resolutions opposing such things.
Right,
Speaking
okay.
to assembly, congressmen, et cetera, senators.
Okay, well, from my point of view, I think that this is a bad idea. I think it's being done purely for a private water company so they can make money. I think that if the state were to impose water restrictions at an earlier date, you wouldn't need to pump the water. There would be sufficient water in terms of drought. The other thing I'd be concerned about is that if in fact the whole purpose of this is to benefit a private water company, then maybe the cost should be incurred by the people who use or the customers of the private water company, rather than having the cost spread across everybody who uses the water system.
I will investigate. I mean, what I'm astonished about most of these is the first time I'm hearing about it. Between my mayor meetings, which are county, every mayor in the county's there, between the league and the stuff, all these avenues of where we get our research data from, I've never heard of this.
Well, we kind of stumbled on it, so
Yeah.
it just kind of hit us. So I just wanted to make that statement. The last thing concerning the water is if Bloomingdale were to go to Butler Reservoir water, where does Butler actually get their water from? Does it come from the Wanacue also?
No. There's stuff in the reservoir, you know.
All right, but where does that water come from? That's fed by.
Well, that's, I don't know, it's not the same watershed as one.
Okay, I'm just curious. I don't know the specifics.
All the reservoirs are in Tacoma.
Where's the tree?
They have the
Right there.
Watershed would probably be from the ones all facing this road and more north of that, and ultimately.
Well, the runoff.
But no, to answer your question, it's not, I don't think we want.
Okay. All right. So moving
Can I
on.
get copies of that, or can you email me a copy or scan it?
Sure, I'll see you on the email.
Please do, Tom.
Okay.
I really want to nominate some calls. You said it's a done deal, but I can't believe there hasn't been more noise about it.
Okay. I just wanted to ask a question about Cross River Fiber.
Yes.
What is the purpose of running the fiber? Is this for television, internet access? Is it single mode, multi-mode? What's the purpose of this?
They are a provider of this type of wiring. I don't know, I can't say exactly what it would be. I think they end up selling those are providers. Yeah, actually.
So are we going to, does this mean that we no longer have to deal with our current cable company and we might have the ability
No,
to?
it's someone else who really seeks to do business by providing this type of service to other providers. I believe they ultimately sell off to Verizon and other
I
providers.
heard that the grapevine was don't print this or repeat this from someone who I think is pretty reliable, that Verizon BIOS is coming, or?
Yes, I've heard that as well.
Petition, you know, so it could be tied to that, maybe it's a
Okay.
total scam.
I have here, I can give this to you if you want, but this is what, you know, I tried to look exactly what they did and what they do, because it says they're a boutique dark fiber optic and telecommunications solutions provider that designs, constructs, and maintains its own independent, redundant network infrastructure.
All right, so when they say dark fiber, what they essentially mean is that it's going to sell it off.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to make a suggestion. If we're going to get either Verizon to come in or this dark fiber company to come in, here's an excellent opportunity to make an agreement with them where we can put cameras that have pan-tilt zoom features on, so that we can monitor the Leisure Field, the Walter T. school system, the municipal building. You think about it, all they have to do is provide the fiber, and it's very cheap. And you could probably get security grants for doing it. So that's something to consider when you negotiate with these companies. That you have that opportunity.
What specifically is it called again?
Well,
Camera surveillance,
Surveillance.
cameras,
Right.
it's not in our public facility.
right.
Okay.
And they can, when they're putting in this infrastructure, it's relatively inexpensive and very easy to do. And you could probably get a security grant for the actual hardware equipment. The police department could monitor it. It's very doable, but you need the infrastructure in place to do it. And if a company is coming in to do it, now's the time to negotiate with them. One more question, two more questions. Senior bus. Is senior bus, this is something that the county has provided Bloomingdale with?
Yes,
Do we own the bus?
yes.
Is there restrictions on who can use the bus?
No, it'll be up to the governing body.
Okay.
I haven't fine-tuned the actual use of the bus. My initial intent is what I stated earlier.
Right, well, the reason I'm asking is that years ago when I was on the Recreation Commission, we literally begged the mayor and council that were in at the time to purchase a bus for recreation. And time again, we were turned down. And, so it's going to be a senior bus, but it could be used for other.
You can, it's just a matter of it's not in the budget now to pay a person to be the operator.
Right.
My intention was to find a licensed nimble senior willing to operate this within just the boundaries of the borough, with the plans to extend it, with the Tuesday's Walmart Day, you can
Right.
see Cedar Crest buses at Walmart, or those kind of things, you know, and rec could be an option, you know.
Is this bus capable of taking seniors on day trips?
It is.
Okay.
No CDLs required, it has the wheelchair lifts, they can,
But I mean, not locally, but if they wanted to go someplace on...
that would be the
a full
ultimate
day.
goal. I mean, I'm not committing to that now. The answer is yes, it can happen. We haven't done the fine tuning. I just got an offer for a free bus, I said yes. It'll be licensed, titled, owned by the borough, probably sit, you know, in the parking lot for a little bit until we figure it
Sure,
out.
sure. No, I think it's a great thing. Wonderful. My final question is, you all know about Edward Snowden and his leaking information. I was on my front lawn cutting the grass the other day, and I had a police car come down the block who was obviously checking a license plate and recording it. So what I'd like to know is, and I'm all in favor of that. I think that they should monitor all license plates, and if you're expired, you should get a ticket. What I'm not in favor of then is putting this information in the database and keeping it forever. I feel that's invasion of my privacy. So I would like to know, number one, does this information go into a database? Number two, how long does it remain in the database? And number three, who has access to it while it's in this database?
I'd have to get that information for you. Would you be able to speak to that now?
No, because, you know, a lot of the discretion with respect to that information is that in the purview of the chief of police. And also, some of that he's precluded from ever disclosing to public safety concerns. So we can at least have.
I mean, they're relatively generic questions. Is it put in a database? How long?
How long is it in the database? And who has access to it?
I will, Frank, I'll be really long, best I can on that response.
Well, there's no,
Excuse me?
there's no rush, man. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing no one, motion to close?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we will be entering late executive session. Consideration of executive session business, would be given the opportunity to speak, the public to speak. Just some scheduled primary election, August 13th, polls open 6 to 8. Today's last day to register for that primary. Last day to register, again, let's say 11 p.m. Regular meeting August 20th, special meeting we just approved for 30th, 8 a.m. Work session September 10th. And regular meeting September 24th. We will take a 5-minute recess to regroup and